So welcome to the next presentation. So not everyone, you don't have to be a programming rock star. This is something, a topic like Dominik will gonna explain us some details.
Yeah, hi there. You don't need to be Linus Torvalds is the topic of the next talk, and how you can do open source contributions without code. I've already seen there's quite a lot of people that contributed to open source, and I think also mainly with code. Do we have some people that identify as in a non-technical role in this room? Any show of hands of non-technical people? Not a single one. Perfect. So you're gonna have a lot of fun in this talk because it's framed for non-technical people. It might not be news for you then, most of that stuff, but it might help you, give you some pointers to your, I don't know, engineering lead or your product manager or project manager to also get into the game of open source contributions, because there's a lot of different ways. I think we just had one with Canoe, right, which is also more of an architecture design than it is really a code contribution, but those are also really important. I think I can skip this slide. So yeah, Linus Torvalds, who is he? So I do this talk also in like more non-technical people, and can you imagine there are some people that don't know Linus Torvalds? So that's the guy, yeah. He invented Linux and Git and all that. And the big question is, do we all have to be like the big rock stars that already started this talk? Do you have to be a very tech nerdy geek and sit on your, I don't even know what that machine is, but I guess some of you know, to contribute to open source? The short question, no. Yay! So you don't need to be into hacking the Linux kernel to actually be able to contribute to code. Why do I talk about that? Because I'm a non-technical person. Well, I have a technical background, but I'm a product manager. Ooh. And I'm working at Giant Swarm, responsible there for our observability platform, but I'm also a member of it's newly named the Cloud Native Platform Engineering Group, a mouthful of a name, but that was the Cloud Native Computing Foundation's working group for platforms, which is also some side project to the Canoe, for example, to the Canoe project. And we were, looking at platform engineering in general. That's now with a restructuring within the CNCF, like a community group, and we'll have to see what that even means. But that's what I do in the open source. So I'm actually a non-techie that does contribute and not with code. That's why I talk about it. Giant Swarm, we also do platform engineering. If you're interested in that, hit me up. And coming back to the topic at hand, how can you contribute without code? And I bet with you, when you started back in your days or something with contribution and you didn't quite know what to contribute to, the very first question that I always heard was like, you can do the documentation. And that's most of the time the first, contribution without code for most projects that people have. But it's not the only way. It's like there's, the problem if you do the documentation that you have to understand the tool, you have to understand like the engineers working with the tool, you have to really be a bit technical to understand and write documentations, right? So for a lot of people, that's also not a feasible contribution. And just saying, just do the documentation is often enough not good enough for them. So, you still need to be technical, but in short, no, there's more ways than just one, and more ways than just the documentation. So this is the most important slide of this whole 15 minutes. So if you take anything from me, please let it be this slide. The most important thing you can do when it comes to contributions is join the conversations. There's always a conversation ongoing because we are humans and humans like to talk. Even engineers from time to time like to talk. So there's a conversation and you can join that. There's always an overarching project, an overarching foundation, some overarching organization. And that's really mind-blowing for a lot of people because they, a lot of non-technical people, because they don't know the organizational structure behind open source. But it's a huge thing to keep open source projects funded, to keep them organized, to keep them running. So there's a lot of open source foundations that work on managing different open source projects. For example, the biggest one is the Linux Foundation, for sure. The Cloud Native Computing Foundation for cloud native stuff is one big foundation, which I'm also very keen to work on. I'm also a big fan of the Green Software Foundation. So if you're working on a sustainable future for our IT sector, that's a good one. In Germany, we have the Chaos Computer Club, which is a hacking group, white-collar hacking mostly. Very nice guys. They have a really, really awesome conference once a year. And yeah, you can look up different open source foundations and really learn a lot about those foundations and how those foundations work. For example, that's the side of the CNCF about how you can contribute to a project and what different ways there are. So check out the conversations of overarching foundations, but you can also directly go into an open source tool or a project like GNU, right? GNU also has a Slack channel on all that, and just check out the specific work within one component, within one project. Here's Prometheus. We already heard a lot about Prometheus yesterday, which is a really, really awesomely managed project. A very good tool, and we can just see the good first issue label on the issues here in GitHub. So that's a very good way to start discussing different things. And the CNCF even goes a step further and has they have this scoring system with DevStat points that's sometimes used, sometimes not. And they introduced issue comments as counting into the DevStat points. So it's not just commits to a repository, but also comments on issues that are now counting into your dev statistic, which shows that also discussions around tools is as important as the contributions at the end are, right? The commits at the end are. And to showcase this, I'll just take my journey as a product manager and how I got to contribute to the open source as an example on how you can get contributions as a non-tech person. It all somehow started with that little page. That's the white paper on platforms and platform engineering that was contributed by a couple of people to the CNCF, and it basically is just a white paper that explains what platform engineering is, what are characteristics of platforms and all that stuff. Since my company and I work in the space of platform engineering, this is really nice, and it helped me in a lot of talks. So I was interested in what's going on there, what's the next thing, and they, as you can see on the side, they work on the maturity model when I started there. So there's more stuff around platform engineering. So I was really interested in that. And then I looked it up, the CNCF platform working group, they have a Slack channel, so I joined the Slack channel. They have regular meetings every 2 weeks, so I went to the meetings, and they have deep dive meetings, platform coffees, content club, GitHub issues, and Google documents. So a lot of stuff that's not necessarily only technical, that's not necessarily something that you have to be an engineer to participate in, right? So that's what I did. I joined the Slack channel, I joined the regular meetings, and the regular things started, raising my hand, very shy at the beginning, very loud at the end, and, contributed by moving with the discussion and in the discussion. I helped review the maturity model and gave my opinions in there. Then I translated the platform glossary, which was really easy with ChatGPT, to be honest, but yay. And then I co-led a research project with the platform as a product research, which is also just research, right? It's not really code. And currently, since I already talked about it, we're restructuring within the CNCF how those working groups and tags and all that work. So I help reshape the community group, which is a very interesting organizational challenge, right? Where we talk about how we organize work rather than really actually working, which is something I, as a, talking about work instead of working, that's my role as product manager, to be honest. So looking at the challenges of the research, and what we did there is we started from scratch with a research process, because there was not really a research process going on within the CNCF, how you do product and general research there. So we had to build up how we do research in open source in general, and get tools where we save data and have data in GDPR conform ways, because I'm German and I can't just get data and not be GDPR conform. So that was a lot on organizational stuff around how you organize research. Then you needed to motivate people to join, which is the hardest part, to be honest. Motivating people to give away their free time to talk to other people, which was not that hard if we now talk about it. And then did research interviews, and especially just having an interview script that we prepared and then going through that was a really nice experience that a lot of people joined, and also a lot of engineers, and it helped them also understand how other companies are doing platform engineering and all that. So the insights were really great from there. Then doing a bit of synthesis, and then at the end presenting the results of that research. And that was a really personal milestone for me, because we did that in the CNCF, which comes in a slide later. So tools that we used, right? Again, Slack channel, blog posts to advertise the whole thing, meeting apps, GitHub, all of that, whiteboards, AI, all of that stuff, which is not necessarily technical, right? Again, coming back to the point, you don't need to have an IDE. It helps, but you don't need to have an IDE to contribute to open source, and you still have a lot of tools that you interact with the open source community, and at the end also a lot of artifacts that are the outcome. So presenting the outcome, as I said, really great highlight, KubeCon 2025 on the platform engineering day. There's also recording, so you can just Google it and then see the results of the research presented there. And yeah, I had a lab coat because I'm a researcher. Was a bit of the gag there. So yeah, I don't take that seriously, please. But the last tip for today, that's the other thing that you can do, is you already did something, because you're here, right? You're listening to other people, you're talking over pizza and beer. And you can also do talks on your own, like me today, like all the other great presenters before me and after me. You can also just talk about open source, because, for example, the Canoe project is such a nice project, and I think there needs to be more talk about it, more people need to know it. And you can organize events, local meetups. There's also a lot of help. You can even get some money from sponsors, like companies like Siemens are sure to help sponsor more events like this, which is really great. So thanks for having me. And talk and organize events. That's also a really great contribution, because open source tools definitely need more marketing. So talking about them is never not a good contribution. For example, platform engineering, there's a couple of great talks out there. Check it on YouTube as well. And you can be one of those people. Every talk, every demo, every workshop, everything, every contribution is really helpful for open source. We need that, right? The community needs to be better known. So wrap up, because my time's running out. Find a tool and a foundation or a project or whatever that you love and that you can get behind, and that you really want to push forward, and then join the conversation, because I bet with you there is always a conversation about the tools and projects and all that stuff. There's always people talking about it, and just join them and listen, and then someday you will definitely be brave enough to also talk. And don't overthink it, because that's also a very important thing. just get started, because the getting started part is the hardest part, right? If it's jumping over your own shadow and all that. Just get in, listen in, and just be active at some point, and then it will come, from its own. So that's it. That's the getting started with the CNCF page, which I think all of you don't really know, but or don't really need. But if you need it, it's there, and then connect with me on LinkedIn if you have any questions. Or now. Thanks. So we have 40 seconds for questions, if you have one. No, perfect. So I answered them all. That's always good.
Thank you very much, Dominik. Great.
Thank you.
Sounds cool.